Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. We've got a brand new week on 67 Hail. We're still waiting on any sort of news coming out of Celtic, any sort of news that isn't on this days. We're still waiting on the ultimate announcement that would be Eddie Howe as Celtic's next permanent manager, but I'm feeling quite relaxed about the whole situation, and I'm going to tell you why. Okay, I will admit that the Eddie Howe to Celtic saga, is it a saga? What's the definition of a saga? It probably is a saga. It has dragged on a bit longer than I expected, than probably most of you watching expected. It's now around about 6 weeks since the first concrete reports that Eddie Howe was going to be Celtic's new manager emerged. Initially, the chat was that he would be unveiled as Celtic's new manager within a week to 2 weeks. We're almost 2 months down the line now, and obviously it's yet to be confirmed. A lot of people have been worried about this. A lot of people have been panicked about this, and I understand it. I did a video on Friday about the lack of news coming out of Celtic, or the lack of meaningful news coming out of Celtic. I totally understand it, but I do think there is real cause for optimism here. I think everyone really knows now that it's a matter of when and not if Eddie Howe is appointed as Celtic manager. Every major outlet has been running this story for weeks, and to be honest, none of them have ever even really deviated from it at all. We had that small point when they were reporting the quotes from Howe's agent, but you know, that was always going to be the kind of thing that would come out from an agent who's trying to get or drum up interest for his client. It was never anything to massively worry about. And without giving the Celtic board credit they don't deserve, surely even they wouldn't put all their eggs in the Eddie Howe basket if it wasn't a shoe-in. Now, maybe again, I'm just giving them far too much credit, and maybe this will turn out to be another one of those videos that ages absolutely terribly and I end up in TikToks in months and years to come. But I'm happy to go out there and I'm happy to say that Eddie Howe is going to be the next Celtic manager. I think the only people that are denying that are Rangers fans and folk who just don't have any clue. So the main question then is, why the hold-up? Why is Eddie Howe not been appointed 6-7 weeks on from those first initial reports? I don't know is the honest answer, and I'm not going to pretend to know. I'm not ITK. I don't have a clue what's going on at Celtic. I'm not privy to any discussions between Celtic and Eddie Howe. I do think from the outside looking in that it's probably likely that it's something to do with his backroom staff and it's who he wants to bring into the club. And more pertinently, it's probably the fact that he wants to bring in people from his ex-club Bournemouth, and the fact that they're still in the midst of a season with at least 2 more mega games to come. They finished 6th in the English Championship, so they've gone into the playoffs to get to the Premier League. They will face Ivan Toney's Brentford. We still have to wait a couple of weeks to even see how that tie plays out. I think the first leg is in about a week's time and the second leg is 5 days later. So we're going to have to wait a little bit of time to find out how Bournemouth's season ends. What does that mean for Celtic's hopes of bringing in Howe as soon as possible? Again, we don't really know. And I don't think it's something we should really get too stressed about. Eddie Howe will know by now that he's going to be the new Celtic manager. It's just a case of crossing the T's, dotting the I's, and I would be shocked if Eddie Howe doesn't have a backlog of Celtic tapes from this season that he's working his way through rather than watching Netflix or whatever he's been doing for the last year. He will be watching every Celtic game. He's probably been doing that since these initial reports came out in early April, and I don't really see the huge cause for alarm or concern. I understand it, and don't get me wrong, I'm part of this group of basically virtually every Celtic fan that just wants Eddie Howe to be paraded at Celtic Park. He just wants to see Eddie Howe twirling the scarf above his head a la Brendan Rodgers. He just wants to see Eddie Howe making some sort of comment about why Danny McGrain always wanted him at the club or something similar to Rodgers. Don't get me wrong, We know there's a huge summer ahead of us. Just confining it to on-pitch matters, we're going to be losing our captain, probably our best player, Odsonne Edouard, maybe Christopher Ayer, numerous others, even the lone players who aren't really up to much will be leaving the club. Some already have, well, in Shane Duffy's case. So there's a huge turnover. We're going to lose probably a dozen players. We're probably going to have to bring in even more than that number just to replace the squad. And then you go into all the off-field matters, the fact we've got a new chief executive in, we're going to have some sort of a new sporting director in at the club. We've got Champions League qualifiers on the horizon, but we are still ahead of the game if you compare it to previous Celtic managers and when they've come in comparison to when they've played their first match. The obvious one to go back to is Brendan Rodgers. When he came into the club in May of 2016, there were 54 days between that and his first match, which was the shock on the Rock of Gibraltar. His predecessor, Ronnie Deila, had just 40 days between him being announced and his first competitive game. And seeing as you ask, we're currently 72 or 73 days away from Celtic's first Champions League qualifier. So we have a lot of time still to work with. There's more than enough time in 2.5 months to get a new manager in, to sort out the first team squad and to get Celtic revitalised ahead of next season. It just seems like things have dragged on because, well, A, they have dragged on, but also B, because Neil Lennon left the club away back in February and our season has been over, well, since July, but basically since January when the team came back from Dubai and dropped points in those 2 or 3 games after that. We've been looking forward to next season ever since that point, and yet we still don't have a new manager. That's why it feels like things are dragging in and you know, we should be running about with our hair on fire. The reality is that we're still ahead of the game if you compare it to previous Celtic regimes like Brendan Rodgers. Seeing as you've absolutely asked for my prediction for the next fortnight or so, that will no doubt age absolutely terribly. I think that down south, Brentford will probably beat Bournemouth in the Championship playoff semi-final over 2 legs. I then wouldn't be surprised to see Celtic appointing Eddie Howe a couple of days after that, probably alongside a sporting director in the one announcement, possibly even the one press conference with the two of them, and ideally Dominic Mackay sitting there as well. I think at that stage you'll probably see Eddie Howe's backroom team take shape with a few people coming in from Bournemouth, possibly people coming in from elsewhere as well. Again, I must stress this is not ITK knowledge. I know nothing. I'm just speculating and I'm just looking at what has been said by what you would call various trusted reporters. So we may well just have to be patient for a wee bit longer, but I do firmly believe that it will be worth it in the long run. While you're being patient and while you're watching these videos, why not subscribe to 67 Hail Hail? We have got lots and lots coming. From next season, we'll be doing far more in-person videos, much less in me just chatting to a camera, much more people joining me in various studios, in various locations, less stuff done over the internet, but we will be continuing a lot of the good stuff we've done next year. We'll unveil those plans some stage in the future, probably a bit after even Celtic unveil their plans for what's going to happen next season, which is saying something. But if you want to be part of 67 Hail Hail, and remember it doesn't cost you a penny, please subscribe to the channel. I'm always trying to make the targets to keep my boss quiet, and if you could help me out with that, it really would be appreciated. Thanks everyone for watching. Let us know what you thought in the comments below, and we'll speak to you soon.